trying to open up these birthing houses where the state will provide homes for moms.
She got to see Eric Metaxas on Sunday. I didn't go see that one. So,
Yeah.
and then you saw some
Yeah,
more.
he wrote letters to the church.
Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was just saying he wrote letters to the church.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the movie on that, you should. The line that always sticks out to me, and I know Leanne's already heard this, was that if during World War II the churches had stood up, and at least I think it was like 10% or 20% of the churches had done something, the whole outcome would have been different. And it's running parallel right now because our churches are not standing up. They're not, getting in the fight. They've been led to believe they can't, that religion and politics do not go together.
Yeah.
So that's a real shame.
Yeah, we also learned that 40 million Christians don't vote, and 25 million of those 40 million are registered Republicans, but they won't vote.
That's got to change.
Well, Sherry and I both signed up to help change that. So
I mean, you want change in healthcare, you want change in the world, you got to vote. That's the only way we can get any of the change.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a company called My Faith Votes that Sherry and I both signed up with. And what they do, it's such a cool process. What they do, you sign up with them and then you commit to how many letters or how many stamps you're willing to buy. And then you get so many letters. And the process is so cool. And let me know if I missed anything. You get the number of letters that you're supposed to get. The letters are pre-written. So you're not actually having to come up with anything.
You just print them out.
Yeah. You just print them out. And then you handwrite their name on it. And then they have she said she thinks it's 4 different little personal blurb messages that you're supposed to write at the bottom of each letter. And then you pray for the person receiving the letter, and then you stop. And then in October, they send you the go and you mail the letter. So you get it ready to go, you pray over it, and then you wait, and then they tell you when to send them out. And then you send them out at the same time. And then I forgot what's all their marketing ploy.
So they also tie social media to those. They target those people in social media so that they're also seeing to get out and vote. So things are coming up on their Facebook, on their Instagram that are saying, get out to vote. Christians need to get out to vote or whatever. And I think that she said it makes a difference of 20 to 50% will get out and vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
How do you get involved?
It's a big deal. We'll put a link in our show notes, but we'll also send you the information because it's what they do is there's a lot of things that they do. That's just one initiative that they have. And I can tell you for a fact that the liberals do this because I have received mail for my daughter. And it's in the same alignment, about getting out. This is how we win if we get out and we vote. So we need to use some of the same playbooks, and they've been doing it for years. So it's not like they just jumped on board. But some of their other initiatives are you can get on there. I think they will text you also if you get on there, and they'll tell you about different things that are going on. They don't over the top text you, I can tell you that because I've been on their text messages for a while. But they also have a website where you can go for your area, and they will tell you about the different candidates in your area and what they stand for so that you can make an informed decision. They're not telling you who to vote for, but they're giving you information so that you can make better choices if you're not sure.
Yeah, she said it will literally put them up side by side so you can compare.
What is it called?
Mm-hmm. It's My Faith
Votes.
My Faith what?
Votes.
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 .com.
Yep. .org.
I think it's I think it's .org.
Yeah, it's probably .org.
I can look it up real quick.
Off my head.
.org.
Yeah, let me see. It's .org.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can probably sign up on there also to do the letters. And, you know, like Leanne said, you commit to however many you want to do. Lane and I are going to sign up for it, and you can just keep, I think, asking for more. Say you do 20, because Lane and I are going to sit down and do them. It's not going to take that long to do it. You know, just the more that you can do, you've got now till October, right, to help make a difference. It's just one more way that Christians can get off the couch and do something, you know, to further our, you know, to further getting conservatives in office, because if we don't flip that, you're not going to see much different than what's going on now.
And I also think it's, you know, I live in a blue state, as we all know. And I think that because I've had this mentality, I've never not voted because of this mentality, but I have had the mentality of my vote's not going to matter. It's a blue state, you know, we're not going to flip it. But that if the Christians, because the majority of California is actually red, if the Christians would get off the couch and go vote, it could actually sway the vote.
Did anything come up about that? Like, why are Christians not voting? Why that's the reason? It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, my true belief. No, I don't think she did. Actually, I don't know if you were standing in there. She did give a couple of reasons. And I think that Christians have been led to believe that faith and religion don't go together. And so I believe there's been a disservice done by the church and the church as a whole, that they're leading people to believe that this is not where we should be. This is not what we should be doing. And so that kind of backed a lot of Christians off from it. And I can tell you that I'm in a group with the church that I used to go to. And they are changing what they're doing in that group. The people are pulling away from the church that we went to, because a lot of things have gone on there. But they asked if people wanted to continue with the group. And if so, they were going to create a new group, because I knew there were some people that weren't active, and we haven't been active in a while. And so I texted out there. I said that, you know, I thanked them for everything they were doing. And I said that we had decided to step away from this church quite a while ago. We feel led to help Christians vote their values, to help educate them on conservative candidates. A very low percentage of Christians vote, which is disappointing. We've been led to believe politics doesn't belong in the Christian church. I dare say this is one big reason our country is being led by evil. We need conservatives back in elected positions, and that is also what we are helping do. If you want to know more, please reach out. And then I said, we need to also step up and fight the spiritual war of good and evil every way we can. Asking them to please, you know, and I said, if you want to know more, please reach out to me. Every message around mine was liked, loved, etc. Nothing was put on mine, and nobody has reached out. I find that really sad. And I can tell you for a fact that church did not do anything. I don't know what they're doing now. They have a new pastor, but they did nothing toward, you know, helping people get educated. I mean, even when Roe v. Wade came down, there was no celebration in the church and no acknowledgement of it happening. So, yeah, you know, this is what has been happening in the church, and I can tell you, there's a lot of liberals in the church. One of the other reasons that I do recall this, and I do know this for a fact, is that, and this happened in this church, I know for a fact, because they were trying to fundraise to build a school. Okay, the pastor was very concerned about what he said and how he said it, because he didn't want to lose any parishioners. So you don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. And one of the things that I heard too is that those pastors that have actually rocked the boat will lose people, but they'll gain us. so many more.
Way more.
That's,
Oh.
that's what happened to Andy Stanley.
That's how the churches here keep growing. The one pastor the first church that we went to here in San Clemente is a Calvary church, and the congregation is tiny. I mean, absolutely tiny. And he preached against being politically active. In the one sermon that we went to there, he didn't say, don't go vote. He just made it clear that we needed to be more involved in the Bible than we did in the vote, which is not untrue, but it was also kind of, there was no follow-up to that about how important it is for us to try and get conservative politicians in office. Whereas the church we go to now and Jack Hibbs, who they're connected, that they really push being active in politics. So
Mine does too.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's just
interesting how it's different.
Meeting,
we have a church here that we visited a few times, and that's the first thing they'll do is pray for the country and those that are in politics, and they don't necessarily say who they vote for, but they make it very clear. I mean, you can tell that it's very much Trump sided. And then Andy Stanley, he'll talk about it too. I think he's got a podcast that's like religion and politics or something. And he'll speak on if you don't take action or if you don't, make certain choices to stand up, where the world will go. And he doesn't say either side, but where he's going with it. He's pretty clear. But he lost a lot of followers. I mean, but then he gained a ton. So I don't know if it's like area specific, but I know there's other churches here, they won't talk about it at all. So it's almost like you go into Death's Dream, like whenever Roe versus Wade was going on and stuff.
Hmm.
But it just makes you,
and they don't
I
have
can't.
to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead and finish your thought.
It's hard to grab why they're not talking about it, especially if that's what's impacting the world more than anything.
Because it's a divide.
I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to call out certain people to vote for. But if you line it up and you go, these are their values, these are the things that they stand for, these are the things that they stand for, where do you line up? And we've talked about it on our podcast too, is that you really can't be liberal. And what do we say? You can't be liberal and be a Christian. You really can't if you're liberal towards, abortion. Because that is in what they stand for. I mean, look at them. They're all wild about what happened with that. And really not a whole lot changed yet.
Yeah. Well, actually, so one of the speeches that we listened to with Seth Gruber. So Seth Gruber founded the White Rose Resistance, and he did a movie that is only being allowed to be seen in if you put a request in to see the movie. So I thought, Sherry and I both thought that you could only see it if you were watching it in a church, but we went and spoke to them. And the lady told Sherry that, she could put in the request to watch the movie in her home if she wanted to have a group at her house. So you can actually view it. And they just send you a digital link. And apparently you're only allowed to see that link. You can only watch that link one time. So you want to bring a group of people in to see it. But anyway, it's called the 1916 Project, and it is truly the history. And it goes so far back. The trailer doesn't do it justice. It goes so far back to when eugenics started and talks about the history of how abortion became such a big public activist kind of thing. And of course, Margaret Sanger is a big part of that. But it goes even further back than that. And he was, oh my gosh, I just completely lost my train of thought about what I was going to say about. So Seth Gruber was saying that when Roe versus Wade got overturned a year and a half ago, or is a year, just a year ago? I don't know. Anyway, when it got overturned, since then, there were 1 million babies killed last year alone. 1 million babies killed last year alone. 63% of those babies that were killed with that abortion pill. So when we think about going into the clinic and the ripping apart of a baby's limbs and things like that, that's not how it's being done now in the majority of the people who are getting abortions. It's that pill. That pill is cyanide. That pill is, he gave what the RU stands for, and it was a toxin that was used in World War II, in the Holocaust. And it literally just goes in and burns you. And so it's death chamber gas, and this is what they're using to kill these babies in the womb. And then when they take this pill, they're instructed while they're on the phone with the nurse to not look in the toilet, to go sit on the toilet. Don't look in the toilet, just flush, because that's where the baby goes. This is the evil that we live in today.
What was it? 85% of abortions or something like that are done through the pill?
63%.
Oh, is it 60? Oh, I thought it was in the 80s.
No.
Yeah. Either way,
53 of the
horrendous.
million that were done last year were done that way. Yeah. Sorry for all the noise behind me.
Yeah. So it's, yeah. And I heard something last night too that I wanted to share with you too, Leanne, in your endeavors to give certain organizations money, as it might be another question to ask. But in our area, one of the ladies that is in the groups that I'm in is very much going, we have Amendment 4 coming up. And that was another group that was there also, because it was in Florida. It was no on 4. So no on 4, because in free and fair Florida, we are voting on whether they can, if this amendment passes, they can have abortion all the way up to birth. Okay, so no matter where somebody sits, and this is where, Julie, you need to talk to people also and educate them. No matter where they sit, I'm okay with 6 weeks or whatever. If you vote yes on this, you're voting for it to be all the way to birth. So that's what people have to understand. When they vote for it, they're okay with it going all the way to birth. Now, what this lady was telling me, because they have a radio show that they do, she and her husband and a few other people, specifically around abortion and Amendment 4 and pro-life and educating people. She found that because she was trying to get on the ballot the opposite of what the liberals were putting on our ballot. Okay, so we were in a, how can we get this on the ballot in a good way? Because of course it's written in such a way that you're like, oh yeah, well, why wouldn't I want women's health rights, or whatever it is. They make it sound good. But she said she was going around and getting signatures from different places. She went into some of these pro-life centers and they would not sign it. Why? Because if it was left at 6 weeks, they would get funding, like $5 million in funding. So they did not want to have that taken away from them.
Yeah, I vet the pro-life centers or the pregnancy centers that I donate to pretty hard.
Good. I'm glad you know that.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because I was just like, what? And she goes, yeah, it's so they're bought. They're also bought.
Yeah.
Because they'll be out of business per se if they don't have the money, the funding, and
yeah.
So it's concerning.
Yeah, it is.
And then they're bringing,
it really
I don't
is.
know enough about the subject, but I know that like they'll say we're closing centers, there's certain things that are happening, but then in other states they're bringing in like travel trailers where you can come. So it's all the ways that they're trying to get around it. It's really disturbing, actually.
Well, it's like our demonically possessed. He's offering for doctors to come into the state of California so their patients can come over the state line, and he opened the door for Arizona doctors to come over here so they can perform their abortions. I mean, who does that? Who? who in their human brain can possibly do that? It's why I believe that Gavin Newsom's possessed. I just don't see how someone can do that with a smile on their face.
They tried to put a bill in place in Florida, which Sherry, I don't understand this either. Y'all making, but, and I may have mentioned it on here before. So when all the changes happened, what they did is now they're trying to open up these birthing houses where the state will provide homes for moms to have their children. So not only do they provide a home for them to live in during their pregnancy time, their whole families can live there and they support you in these homes.
That's interesting, and I would be really concerned about that. What strings are attached to that? I don't know. That's
Well, see if you can find anything about that, because I mean that was going on in Tallahassee in the Capitol, and I mean that's how I found out about it. So that was something that they were reviewing.
Yeah, I'll see that lady again tonight, so I'll ask her about it and see what she says.
It just tears your heart out.
There's, I mean, when I first heard this too, is that, you know, they want to make Florida the abortion destination. I'm like, you know, not just the vacation destination, but the abortion destination. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. 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 There was another group that I signed up for, called Intercessors for America.
Yes.
And I signed up for the California chapter, but we met really amazing people that are affiliated with that group, and they yeah, I'm so excited to start getting on those prayer calls. So they have a call every week, actually on Mondays here in California at 11 o'clock for the state, and then they always have national calls too. So I'm pretty excited just to be a part of the call. And they give you, I was looking at their website yesterday while we were driving up to Orlando, and they give you, you can actually go onto the site and print off a sheet that will, and you fill in the blanks on who the senator, the congressman, like who your local people are. And then I'm so interested to hear, because if I understood it correct, and Sherry, you might have heard this too, if I understood it correct, they open the call with everyone muted. And then when it's time to start praying, they unmute everyone and everyone's praying together out loud. So it's probably almost like a ritualistic chant sounding thing, but you're all praying for all the different people in your area. So I think that'll be really interesting to hear, just audibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lady was actually from Florida, because we were here, and she lives over in the Tampa area, Hillsborough County, which needs a lot of prayer. Anyway, but our call in Florida is also at 11. So I'm guessing maybe across the board it's at 11 your time, but they have it set up in every state. And I think you can get involved also if like they want to have like each county have like a representative also on there. And I think my county already has one. But so it's just, I know also for ours, she said it's mostly Central Florida, from coast to coast is where most of the people are coming in from. So, or calling in from. So, but she said, yes, also, I didn't know that, I haven't gotten on their website yet, but she said, you know, you can just send the email with specific things you want to be, you know, right, because we're in election time, things to be that are being voted on, or things that need to be known, you know, in your county, for them also to like pray over.
Yeah.
So like, I know a lot of school boards are working on being flipped right now. I know we are in our county. And that was kind of why I put that message out there too, to that group, is because they're not designated. You don't know whether they're, unless you start doing research, you don't know how they are, you know, there's no RD behind their name, is I guess what I want to say. So you can't even go with, well, this one should be more conservative. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, you know, unless you actually go out and look at, you know, what they stand for. So,
yeah.
And the judges. the judges are the other hard part, and then that My Faith
that's
Votes
right.
does not have the judges on there. That one is a hard one, and if I find something, I'll definitely put it out here, because we need to know, how have they voted?
There is on the judges, we always look at, because they have there is something that you can look at on the judges, and I can't remember the website, but it's like they are rated by their coworkers, and you can read those reviews on them. And so we always review that when we vote for the judges, but I can't remember what website that is.
Can't you
Have
find
you guys ever looked at
information
that?
on Ballotpedia too? On
No,
judges?
maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I feel like they did that same thing in Alaska. I don't know what that website was either.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, that's what they do in Nebraska, and I can't remember what. So
I
that
think
always
there is
helps us
one.
make those decisions. But
Yeah, if you find it, I would love to know. I know we only have one judge up, and one of them we know she's not. I think it's she isn't friendly towards Second Amendment. So the other one leans better. So,
I think it's really important for us to make sure that we vote for another reason. And that reason is because we're watching democracy in the US literally fall away through what they've done with this Democratic presidential nominee.
Yeah.
When Black Lives Matter, who are Marxists, so in their fundamental beliefs, there's a little bit of an understanding of why they're so angry about this, but it's the funny thing is they've posted about it so much that it's drawing up more ire in the Black community. When Black Lives Matter is posting about the lack of democracy because they didn't allow a popular vote or a public vote to happen when Biden stepped out of the race, and they just the elites went in and put or the Congress went in and decided who was going to go into office, into the nomination without any public input whatsoever, you've got a problem because they don't support democracy at all. So this is a clear sign that they will go to any lengths to keep someone in office, including taking our rights away from us. Because no one on a Democratic ticket, no one who is a registered Democrat got an opportunity to vote for who they wanted to run. And they right. If you look at the statutes, they made sure that Biden stepped away after the timeline for them to have the time for a public vote, so that they would have to nominate someone in. So the DNC should
also be taking all the funding. All the funding is moving from Biden to Kamala, which I would be upset.
Yeah.
If I didn't want my funding to go to her.
No,
for them to do that.
Not from a president to a vice president. That's the only way it's not illegal. Otherwise, they have to do all that. Yeah.
I'd still be disappointed because again, you're not getting a say where your money went.
That was
the only way they can transfer all those funds. Otherwise, they had to give them all back.
Yeah,
and I think people should ask for their money back.
Well, they did lose one particular big donor, and I can't remember who it was, but then Netflix turned around and donated $7 million to her. So
yeah, because
we
who owns
Netflix years ago, huh?
You know who owns Netflix? The Obamas.
They own it now.
Yeah.
The Obamas own it.
Okay, so my girlfriend texted me after I sent her the information about.
At least they're major
producers,
shareholders or whatever. Producer, yes, they do.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising to me that they donated. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I have Netflix.
We canceled Netflix back in the cuties days.
Yeah, so did we. Long time ago. I can't remember how long that was now. Long time ago.
But I was surprised how many people had never heard of PureFlix. Have you guys heard of PureFlix?
Yeah, I've had it for years since we stopped with Netflix.
But we were talking about it with people at the convention this weekend, and nobody knew what PureFlix was. And this lady was like, "I'm so sad because I can't watch Heartland now." And I was like, "Heartland's on PureFlix." And she goes, "What's PureFlix?" So I pulled my app up and showed it to her, and she was like, "Oh."
Yeah, there's lots of good ones. Like we have PureFlix, we have Angel Studios, we have the Daily Wire,
Yeah, we have the Daily
and
Wire.
I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that we have that are like, conservative streaming services, but those are the three major ones that we have. They're really good. But anyway,
Yep, we got to
Yeah,
vote
there
with our
were-
money. You got to vote with your money.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And that's another reason.
Yeah.
If you're not voting for local, it starts locally, right? Like if your local government is super blue, super liberal, then your federal government's going to be liberal. So that's why
See,
Christian,
exactly. I was gonna get all on my soapbox, Leanne, and you already started it.
you go
So
right on ahead, sister. I've talked
Go,
enough.
go,
Get
go.
get on there.
no, I'm just
Go,
like,
Brianna.
okay. So here's like the number one thing that you can do is a vote, right? To make changes. Like use the power that you're already given by your country, go vote, But then secondly, all the stuff that you guys were sharing, like get involved, myfaithvotes.org, help people get out and vote, and encourage your friends and family to vote, like all these things. Then pray, Intercessors for America. That's a great way to get involved with praying for your country and for your leaders and leadership and all those things. Because even when they were doing we did a long fast at prayer and fasting time when the Supreme Court judges were actually voting on overturning Roe v. Wade, and there were hundreds of thousands of other people doing the same, and then it was overturned. So, your prayers and your help in getting active in these things, like it makes a huge difference. You're just like you were saying, sending these things out gets more people out to vote. And it makes a huge difference. So don't think that just as one person, you can't make a difference, because you can make a huge difference, in overturning Roe versus Wade and getting people out to vote and getting good people into elected positions. That's huge. But then the third thing is get involved locally where you're at. It's so huge, get involved locally, whether it's in your city government, your state, your county, whatever it is, find some way to get involved in getting good people elected, help on a campaign or something, or just praying for them, just downloading the things and praying for them, or like Sherry's doing, getting involved in writing ordinances and laws and getting things passed, that we want good laws being passed in our country too. And so, I mean, there are so many ways that you could get involved, but even just getting involved on a local level, and especially in your state now, because they've overturned that. So now abortion laws goes to states, and it's the same way with prostitution laws, with a lot of different things. So even just getting involved at your state level is huge. It doesn't have to be, the federal level.
Mhm.
It can be huge right where you are, where your family lives. You can make a huge difference. So that's just my 2 cents. Get involved, no matter what it
Absolutely.
is. Do at least
Yeah.
just do one thing. Pick one thing. Do
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have to do everything, but pick one thing, do one thing. It will make a difference.
Vote.
You
vote,
can poll
vote.
work.
You will
You
make a
can
difference.
go work the polls is another thing. My husband and I have been working the polls. It is a long day, but think about it.
We
You're
volunteers.
the eyes. You're the eyes of what's going on in that poll, to make sure that nothing, crazy goes on. Or you can be a poll watcher. That's another way to do it also. We're helping on different campaigns. Just call up one of the campaigns that you resonate with. They would love for you to go knock on doors. You meet some really great people. You really do. And in your neighborhood, because we're just doing it in our neighborhood. So we have a list, and the list is Republicans and NPA super voters. So those are the people that are more than likely to get out to vote in the primary. So you're not going to the crazy liberal doors. Before you go to the door who's registered to vote there. And we have some of the greatest conversations, and we get to meet our neighbors. So, I mean, it is fun, and you can get in big groups and do that. There's just so many different ways you can help fund them. And like Bree said, pray. I mean, these people need a lot of prayer.
So much prayer. There's such a huge battle over our country right now. Yeah.
There absolutely is. There is. So everything. Do all the things that you can do and just start with one. You're right, Bree.
Yeah.
It's coming from so many different angles too. It's almost bombarding. And so I think by picking one, it seems more manageable because just hearing you talk, I'm like, gosh, there's so much.
There's so much.
Well, there's
You
just
feel
so many
overwhelming.
options.
Yeah, it can really feel overwhelming. And like for me, I wanted to be involved in everything by the time we left that convention on Sunday because there was so much good happening there. Like radio shows were there and colleges were there. My husband goes to Liberty. Liberty was there. Like all these incredible people were there. Bad news was there. We actually got stopped after Trump's speech by the Washington Post. And for some reason I was thinking that they were not a liberal newspaper, but it's the New York Post that's not liberal. And so this journalist was asking us questions and she was really trying to lead us into saying something negative about Trump's talk. And I felt that,
I'm disappointed we were.
Yeah. And I felt it. I don't know. I wanted to believe that she was not, for some reason, I just didn't think there would be liberal news there, but they were. And so anyway, Lane and I ended up talking the most. And so she got mine and Lane's phone numbers and said, can I get your phone number in case we need to confirm or verify anything? And so we didn't finish until so late. We went to dinner super late Saturday night or Friday night, and we were sitting at dinner and I saw that she had already published her article and it was so negative about Trump and not one word of mine and Lane's comments were in there because we were so positive.
We didn't, I mean, she even went so far as to say, so, we told her when we signed up for it, because she knew we were sponsors, or not we, but Leanne, that we all had sponsor cards. Well, we all had sponsor cards on, and she goes, well, I can talk to you guys even though you're sponsors, and she's just like, she couldn't get any information out of us, and it was just, she was just leading us down the path, and when she was just like, well, so, when you found out President Trump was coming, had you already signed up for the event or not? Is that the reason that you decided to come? And I said, oh, no, we didn't know he was coming, but it sure was a bonus that he was coming.
Yeah. And then she was like, well, usually at his rallies, they're so rowdy and people are so high energy and everyone in there just seems so calm. And Lane goes, well, it's a Christian event and Trump came. It's not a rally, right? And then I said, actually, I'm kind of glad it was as quiet as it was because you could actually hear everything he said and his message was so good. She didn't like anything we had to say.
Well, no, I wish I had been thinking on my feet better, but we were all so tired after being up early and
yeah, it was like almost 10 o'clock.
Like, I felt later on, I'm like, I should have asked her, have you ever been shot before? Because he's only 2 weeks out of being shot. I think he did pretty darn good.
Right. And I just love all the negative media around his talk there because I've seen so much press around him being there and him calling Kamala a scum and him saying, so they totally took out of context what he said about Christians get out and vote now and then you won't have to vote ever again. They took that so out of context in the media. So if you've seen anything about that is not, it was a joke. It was absolutely a joke, but they've made it sound like he was basically saying, I'm gonna steal democracy so that I can be a dictator. What he was saying was, I'm going to make it so we have to have voter ID. And that way, you go show that you're legal so you can vote.
Yeah, we'll have fair elections.
Yeah, but it was just,
we're going to make you what we want to be the
vote.
dictator.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's all crazy.
So anyway, there was so much good that came out of that. I would recommend anyone listening to this podcast that if you have a Turning Point event near your house, go check it out. Turning Point is started out as a student organization. They started out visiting colleges. They still do that. Turning Point USA. That brand of Turning Point is strictly education. They, in fact, the 3 days before our convention started, they had Turning Point educators. They had an educator summit there, and they are very strong in making sure that universities understand what's going on in the government and that they are educated instead of indoctrinated. That's their goal. They're in high schools now, which is amazing. But they also now have Turning Point Faith, which was what we were affiliated with. So Turning Point Faith is truly geared toward churches and Christian ministries and things like that. And then they have, they've got one other one. But so we are going to be at the American Fest in December in Arizona, which is their huge political event that I think this is where they kind of started with their conventions, and it's a really big event. So I would just recommend that you go to one. I know they had one in Detroit, and I don't know what it was. That was the last one that they did just a few weeks ago, and apparently it was gigantic and did really well. But they're everywhere. I would just look them up and support them if you can, because they are really trying to educate people, especially the younger generation, and keep them out of the indoctrination. And it was so amazing to see so many young people there, because there were a lot of, if you were a student, you got a special student admission badge, and there were so many young people there. And little kids, oh my gosh, there were these little kids, and they had such an entrepreneurial spirit. They would come over to our table and be like, will you pay me if I go take your business cards around and deliver them to people? And so the day before the final day, no, the final day, Sunday, we paid him. We paid this little kiddo $5 to go deliver samples to all the sponsors around the area, because I didn't get a chance to go meet them all. And so he did. He went and delivered samples to all the sponsors. The guy next to us that was selling the Trump coffee offered them $5 for every bag of coffee that they sold, and they were just so high energy. The one little boy made like 45 or $50 just going around and delivering stuff and dropping business cards, and oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Well, his father's booth was like diagonal to us, and I don't know if you caught this, but he actually lives in the same city I do.
Yeah.
So yeah. We connected on that, and he's got my phone number now. And so it'll be interesting, because it was his little boys that were running around doing all of that, or his son and the friend. I don't know which way it was, but yeah. So it was so fun to see.
It really was.
But there were even like when we walked in, the no on Amendment 4, no for abortion, basically in our state, to all the way to term, there were little kids handing out cards for that, and they had no on Amendment 4 on their shirts, and that was the first people I saw when I walked in the door.
Yeah.
And so it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, if you decide to go to a Trump event, the Secret Service is ramped up. And it was an ordeal to get through, but well worth it, even for us.
Yeah. Yes. And I was going to say too, with Turning Point, when we went last year, it was Turning Point Action, and it was more geared toward political, because they did have President Trump, and then anybody that accepted to come to speak that was on the Republican ticket. And so they had everybody who wanted to come and speak. Not all of them showed up. DeSantis didn't even show up in his own state. So, but the few days before that event, it was the college students. And what they do have is that on each campus that they're on, is they have people that are kids that are part of the organization there on the campus. So they have a presence on the campus. And the kids that had come to the event, everything was paid for them so that they could come to the event.
Nice.
And they could get the training, the couple of days before. And they were, the one gal that we sat next to and before one of the things, because we all came in and sat down, Lane and I found 2 seats, and all of a sudden we had about, 20 kids around us. They all came in and sat down, and they were like, and so we were surrounded, but the one gal that we were talking to was from California. And I was like, oh, well, this will be interesting. But she was talking about, what was going on there and, what she's doing. And so it was really amazing to hear and see those kids, so pumped up.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A great organization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So y'all get out and vote. Get involved somewhere.
Yeah,
Vote
exactly.
biblically. I loved those stickers. I never got one, but there was people handing out stickers that say vote biblically.
Yeah, says
Love that.
biblically, God's non-negotiables: life, marriage, and Israel. So that's what's on that. But they were handing those out when we walked in, I think 2 days in a row also.
I want to encourage you to pray for Israel right now too. They're getting ready to start yet another war with Hezbollah. So they cleared out Beirut. The airport was completely empty yesterday. So, well, they're not starting the war.
We need it.
Lebanon started the war.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm pretty sure the terrorists already started the war. They're just
The
trying to
terrorists
finish it.
they're retaliating, and they should. They killed a lot of Israelis the other day. So anyway,
And we're not going to do anything.
no, not with this administration.
No.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. We had no idea where we're going with this podcast, but we hope that you enjoyed hearing about Turning Point. And if you are interested, we're going to put some links in the comments or in the description below for White Rose Resistance, of course, all the turning points, and we'll throw some links in there for Intercessors of America, for America, and some of the other companies and organizations that we talked about. If you have any questions about how to find information for your local area, please let us know. We will be glad to help you figure that out, because if you're asking questions, that means you want to vote. And if you want to vote, that means that we might actually get to see some turning in this country. So let us know what comments and questions you have. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This topic is probably one of the most important topics we can discuss over the next 4 months. So thank you again, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.